Welcome to Licensed Poetics, a podcast about books and art. I'm your host, Fang Ling. And here in the studio with me is Derek. Welcome back.
Hello, everybody.
The lovely interim host. I've literally been looking forward to this recording day for a while because I'm so excited to talk about this book, Derek.
I already know what you're going to say.
He's just unbridled enthusiasm. But yes, LP Book Club returns for our second episode. So what book are we talking about today, Derek?
We are talking about My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Her name is Ottessa Moshfegh. I don't know if you pronounce the G. Okay, so this book, I think some of our listeners will definitely have heard of it. And I actually mentioned it in Licensed Poetics' very first episode. If you remember, in that episode, I talked about a book called Big Swiss by Jen Beagin, and I compared that book to My Year of Rest and Relaxation because I said that book is in this genre that is very popular at the moment, which is literary fiction about unhinged women doing like unhinged things. And that's like a genre that's popular right now. And this book, My Year of Rest and Relaxation, is like one of the big titles in that genre. And if you remember the very first episode, my review of Big Swiss wasn't exactly super positive. But I said in that episode that I will give this genre another chance. And I said I will read My Year of Rest and Relaxation. So I guess that is why I put forward this book for the book club.
Should you give other examples of the genre?
Yeah, I think.
So like, I mean, I guess in TV shows, the equivalent is Fleabag, famously, or Girls, if anyone's seen that.
And yeah, in books, it's mostly this one and Big Swiss.
Is there stylistic differences or are they the same book?
Style's a bit different. Theme-wise, they're both definitely about women, like slightly unconventional women doing unhinged things. But I think comparing the two, I might have enjoyed this one a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, I guess we'll get into it.
So for our previous book club, obviously we talked about The Vegetarian by Han Kang, and that was a great pick. And that was the most fun I've ever had recording Licensed Poetics.
Really?
It was just so fun. Hopefully today's episode will be just as enlightening.
We'll see.
I have a feeling I'm going to go on a journey of self-discovery in this episode.
Therapy. Anyway.
Exactly. This is therapy.
So.
Oh, yeah. I need to plug Buy Me a Coffee.
BetterHelp?
First.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Sure.
Better. I'm still waiting for that sponsorship. BetterHelp. But okay. Back to Buy Me a Coffee. So if you don't know, Buy Me a Coffee is a platform where you can support creators and you can make a one-time contribution or you can become a member if you're interested in the exclusive content that I'm releasing on Buy Me a Coffee. So for example, for the month of July, I'm going to release a life and writing update where I talk about how my novel writing is going. So if you're interested in that, please consider buying me a coffee.
Are you not doing the poetry review thing?
Oh, I am, yeah. Oh, that's another piece of exclusive content. So I'm reviewing one poem per month. So last month I reviewed a poem by Czesław Miłosz, which is also a poet that I have mentioned on this podcast.
And I'm open to providing exclusive content also.
Yes.
So if anyone, so that's for the poetry lovers, I guess. People who hate poetry, I will also review poetry. The same poetry that
you can't. I'm convinced you can't write negative reviews of the poems that I pick.
I guarantee you can.
They're
I don't like
poems.
poetry.
They're good poems.
Poetry sucks.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm sure there will be roaring demand for your
for my
poetry hating. Exactly.
Poetry, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff is on there. So I think with this episode, we received some feedback from our last episode, actually, is that we should do a spoiler-free section and a spoiler section.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll try to do that. And then we'll also give like an overview of the book first, and we'll say how we feel about it in 5 words, and then we'll go into the spoiler-free section, I think.
Trite, but simple. That works.
Is that your 5 words? 5 words or less? Trite but simple?
I meant your prompt, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I mean like trite but effective. Sorry.
Well, I'm trying to have a little bit of a structure.
I find structure trite but effective.
I can tell from your writing, Derek. Oh,
that was the worst burn. Well, it was fair. It was fair. Totally reasonable.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so how do you feel about the book in 5 words or less? I have 4 words here. First,
Yeah. Why don't you go first?
my 4 words are unsatisfied, confused, need guidance. That's how I feel.
Okay.
I humbly acknowledge that I need guidance for this book.
I don't know. I want to sleep too. Like.
Oh, hey, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Hey, that's good. Okay, that's a good segue into explaining a little bit about what this book is about. On the back cover of the book, besides the many, many compliments that this book has received, is the blurb. So we have an unnamed protagonist. It's one of those unnamed main characters. Young, thin, pretty, a recent Columbia graduate, an apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan paid for by her inheritance. Our narrator has many of the advantages of life, but there is a vacuum at the heart of things, and it isn't just the loss of her parents, or the way her Wall Street boyfriend treats her, or her sadomasochistic relationship with her best friend. It's the year 2000 in the world's greatest city. A glitter with wealth and possibility. What could go so terribly wrong?
That blurb doesn't really say much about what the story is.
No, it doesn't.
And I was trying to think about like, how do we summarize this so that
it's spoiler free?
Yeah, because it's like there's only one thing that happens.
I know, right?
And then it's like that's the objective of the story.
Yeah, it's a bit like The Vegetarian. In that, like, remember how we're having the same exact discussion, like there's not much to spoil. But I guess we can start by explaining why you said I want to sleep too. Because so this main character, right, even though she has everything, she decides to go on a year of hibernation. That's what she calls it. So she takes all kinds of pills so that she can sleep for like very long stretches of time. And I guess some of the principal characters in the book is just the main character, her best friend Reva, her Wall Street boyfriend Trevor, and her just crazy doctor who gives her this
Dr. Tuttle.
Yeah, Dr. Tuttle, who gives her like just crazy pills. And she does not care if she lives or dies.
I love every single character. I like them all so much. They're like terrible, but they're all really likable.
Oh my God. I felt bored by them by the end. I felt like they're just like the same trope being acted over and over. You know, the toxic boyfriend, the toxic best friend, the crazy doctor. Don't you feel like it was just the same trope being played over and over?
I think there's an element of like realism to it where it's like that's what people are really like.
Yes,
yeah,
I think.
Like
yes.
it's not it's like it's boring because because people get bored of their friends, right? Like, and to be honest, most of the time people change really slowly and very suddenly in a way that you wouldn't expect. Like it hardly ever happens the way that most books tell about like character events or whatever.
Like how there isn't always an arc, really.
Most of the time there isn't an arc. Like someone dips out of your life, they come back different. And you're like, what the fuck happened? And it's like, oh, my mom died.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I think to me the most interesting part of the book. Oh shit! Is this a spoiler? Well, the blurb already said the loss of her parents.
Oh, okay.
Right. So
I guess it's not.
Okay. So I was just gonna say, I think the main character's parents' death is actually the most interesting part of the book because that made the most sense to me. Because the rest of it, I was just confused, but I'll get into that later. But I'll tell you what sense I made from like her parents' death, because she would recount like snippets of her childhood and stuff, and it's obvious that her parents are very emotionally distant, especially her mom, because her mom seems to be this type of woman who's just very emotionally distant, and she only cares about, she drinks all the time, and she doesn't want to be a nanny. I think she literally said that to her daughter, where she doesn't show any like physical or emotional affection, and then she only cares about her appearance, it seems, and she would make these remarks about like her daughter gaining weight or something, I remember. And her parents both died when our main character is, I think, still in university, when she's pretty young. And so it seems that this toxic lack of emotional support relationship had this, once that her parents died, it made her grief even more difficult to process, and she doesn't know how to cope with the grief, and she doesn't have this like conventional idea of like, oh, my mother loved me so much and now that she's gone and I miss her love. She doesn't have that to lean to, so she doesn't really know how to process her grief. That's something that did you get the same thing out of it?
Similar, but I have so maybe it's because of my experience, my lack of experience with grief with loved ones, but like, not that I don't care, it just hasn't happened to me. But there's like an element of that, but I think if you focus on that as the crux of the story, like this thing won't make sense. And it's that trick of like, I think it's in there and I think it's meant to be compelling. It is very compelling. But if you start to mistake it for, I don't know, what do they call that?
The crux.
If that's like the rosebud, if you treat it as the rosebud, it's like
no, but I know what you mean, like the center, right?
Yeah, the center of like her trauma or whatever.
Okay.
If you view that as the reason, I think it
I also don't think it's like at the center of the story. I can get that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a bit confused. So what do you think is the center of the story?
The center of the story is that, so I was calling it for a while. I was trying to remember what it made me feel like. And there was a book that I'd read ages ago, back when I was a non-reader. And it was
a book I read when I was a non-reader.
It was like a book I picked up from like Kinokuniya or whatever. And it was like, I think it was actually two stories in one book. It was a play and then maybe a short story. And it was called Something at the End of the World. I can't remember what it was. It was like something, I'm doing air quotes, at the end of the world. I can't remember exactly.
The book is called Something at the End of the World.
I don't
the
know
restaurant at the end of the world?
I'll have to find it eventually.
Okay.
But that book was basically about the malaise leading up to 9/11 and then the absurdity after 9/11. The story is a guy goes to a concert, hooks up with a girl, they have a one-night stand, and I think while they're like taking a break from fucking or whatever, they're like watching the TV in a love hotel. It's by a Japanese author, that's why there's a love hotel.
Okay, yeah.
And they're watching on TV and then they see like the plane hit the towers. And then they just go back to fucking. And they basically do this for like a week. And by the end, like the sparkly night life that they went into the love hotel that they saw when they went in, when they leave on like a week later in the morning, like it's all turned to shit. Like everything looks terrible. Like there's this very Araby sense of like innocence, like James Joyce's Araby. You
okay.
read that?
I haven't read that.
It's like a short story. But it's like the loss, quote unquote, loss of innocence or whatever.
Okay.
And there's that 9/11 sort of. So then, after I read that book, I was like, oh, that's like I'd call that like a post 9/11 book. And then I read this, and I was like, oh, it gives me the same feeling. And then when there's
we'll leave that to later. But okay, I'm trying to understand like, so how does that story made you feel? Like there was that evaporation of the glittery world.
It's the evaporation of the characters are the same. They're like these characters who they can sense the end of the world coming or the end of the paradigm or like a paradigm shift coming. And so they reject everything about the world currently and they isolate themselves. There's a really strong bent of like, oh, they never leave the hotel. They survive there by like buying like nuts and like drinks from the vending machine or something. And there's that. And when I was like reading this, I was like, oh, that's like it's that same vibe.
That is interesting. Hold on, let me think about it. So like wherever they get this sense, right? Like the world is ending, and then the way you deal with it is you escape and you like hunker down and
you wait for the
oh, okay.
Past. It's this really interesting like and then you emerge into the world, but the world is fucked anyway because it's been fucked for so long. You just didn't realize it.
Okay. Yeah, well, in this book, right, she does kind of, well, she really messes up her job at the art gallery. She studied art history in Columbia, I think, and then she had a job at the gallery, but then she like really messed that up because right before she quit, she was already sleeping for like long stretches during the day at her work, and then she quit, and then she shat on the floor on her last day.
Wait, is this the spoiler section now?
No, this is not a spoiler. This is in the beginning.
But she shits. Like that's really great when it happens.
Oh, okay. Explain to me why you think it's great. I was just so confused.
Do you not know the trope? Like, oh, when you hate a place, you like shit on your boss's desk. That's like a joke. Like that's like a trope.
Okay, maybe
It's
I
a
don't know
cultural
that
thing.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know that one.
Maybe I don't
Okay.
know. It might not be a thing everywhere. Maybe it's not universal. But like that's the thing. Like from TV.
Okay. So you think she's like saying she hates the job?
She obviously hates her job.
Yeah, she does hate her job, but like it's okay. Throughout the thing, I'm just really confused.
There's a lot of I actually know. So I realize what it is, and I know why it's like you're kind of disconnected from it. It's really pop culture heavy, even if the pop culture itself is not essential to the story. Like it feeds into this weird context because like
well, there's a lot of movie references. I will say
it's all movie references.
Yeah, it's all movie references.
Even the way she like views the world is very dismissive, at length, like distance, sort of. It's very much like for me.
Yeah.
Like as a story.
I mean, yeah, even the trope of this podcast is that I get none of the movie references, right? And then it's true. I mean, all I got from this book really is that I at least know who Whoopi Goldberg is, but that's about it.
And yeah, and you don't understand her obsession with like Whoopi Goldberg.
Not really. Okay. You know what? I think this brings me back to the point of like why I need guidance is because I keep comparing this book to The Catcher in the Rye and Less Than Zero and American Psycho, right? Because those books are all kind of about like this messed up young person, right? I know the books are not the same, but I just keep comparing them, and I keep trying to figure out why some unlikable characters I love reading about them so much, and why other unlikable characters I just hate reading about them so much.
Not to be accusatory, but how many of the unlikable characters that are women are the ones that you don't like?
That's the thing that I've been thinking about. No, I don't think it's because I'm a misogynist. See, this is the journey of self-discovery that we're going on. See, maybe it's because of all the cultural things that I don't get. I just get this mix of self-importance and self-loathing at the same time.
But that's in all of those books you just described as well.
The reason it gives me that feeling, I think it's more because of the confusion.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with guidance, right? I was trying to make the point. When I read the Catcher in the Rye, it's because I had a lot of guidance from John Green.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because of all the videos that he made on YouTube about like how he interpreted The Catcher. So I went into it with a lot of guidance from him. Yeah. And I really think if I didn't have that guidance, I would have read the book completely differently, which is a really incredible thing. And I think because with Catcher, he kind of primed me into thinking that, you know, this is an annoying teenager, but like try to have empathy for him. And he somehow convinced me to have empathy for him even before I started reading. When I read that Holden hates someone, I for some reason, I know why he hates that person. But then when I read this character in My Year of Rest and Relaxation, when I read that she 1 second hates Riva and 1 second she says I love Riva, I'm confused. I don't know why.
Have you never both loved and hated someone?
Yeah, but I wouldn't write a book about it. Can you explain to me why do you think that is? Why does she like hate Riva and also love her?
It might just be like you're not a toxic person. Like I've had shout out to my friend who knows who they are.
Jeremy.
Yeah,
Jeremy.
I've had moments when I've been like, they'll be great. Like they'll be super helpful, super nice. And you're just like, you fake fuck.
See,
you inauthentic son of a bitch.
Okay, see, you said inauthentic, right? So maybe that's your gripe with them. In this book, do you think she also hates Riva because she feels she's inauthentic?
She says it like multiple times.
But then why does she also love her? I guess this book made me more confused instead of clarifying it.
Yeah.
like something that compels me is when the author is trying to say something about the world. I think like say when we talk about like Holden, right? Why he's that way, like the author is making an accusation against the entire world and like making an accusation almost. That's like a very clear kind of it's clearer for me to understand.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, maybe it's exactly like what you said. Maybe the author is not interested in making such a clear indictment or a clear statement about the world.
Yeah, and I think that's like powerful because I like it's great to have a character I understand like that understands me, right?
Mm.
Whereas like when characters when for example, when you get like a book and there's a character that says, I love like, the lesson I've learned is that I need to be a better person and work harder for others or something. I'm like, liar. Like, that's bullshit. That's not true at all. Like, everyone is fundamentally selfish. You're pretending that you're not. You can feel how you want about this character. The character is well formed enough to be somewhat real. And the question is like, you can like her or you can hate her. It's fine. Like, and either way, you'll get something out of reading the book.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it's a bit clearer because the main character thinks Reva is superficial, right? Is into like stupid things and like vomits all the time to keep her weight down, and like
she's got like that eating disorder.
Yeah, eating disorder, and she's in love with her boss who is married, and she even says that the main character is just keeping Reva around so that she can laugh at her.
Yeah.
Right. I think that was relatable. Relatable enough a setup, and I think it was interesting.
But you didn't understand it as it went on?
I wasn't sure where it didn't seem to change or like where it was going.
She refused to do any change while like being aware of the change itself. I don't know where we are in the story now. We've just been talking. I think it's spoiler free. I'm not sure if like viewers can even or listeners can even follow this.
I think so.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
No, I think so. We talked about her parents, and I guess maybe the only thing is we should mention Trevor, the Wall Street boyfriend.
Yeah.
I just remember that bit where she says like she goes to Trevor so that she lets herself be degraded by Trevor.
Yeah.
She likes but like she keeps doing this to so that Trevor can humiliate her, and she seems to like that because she keeps going back to it.
Yeah,
that is obviously part of the self-destructive behavior that she engages in. What do you think of that?
I think I mean I've known Trevors.
You've known Trevors, okay?
Yeah, like I think we all have.
Okay.
Have you never known a Trevor?
A Trevor? No, I haven't. I don't think I have, no.
You need to know worse people. I think that's the key. Maybe that's the difference.
I think I know plenty of people who are flawed.
Yeah, but he's terrible.
Because she seems to really love...
Have you never been...
Have herself degraded by Trevor. And like, what... And then she goes to the doctor to get pills.
Yeah.
And then she goes to Trevor to get humiliated. And then it's just like her motivation is mostly unclear to me.
What does fungling self-destruction look like?
I am self-destructive, like sometimes. I'll admit I've never been as self-destructive as Fleabag or as this main character, but like I don't know, sometimes I'll just procrastinate a lot and then
oh no.
And then I would I don't know, I would drink soft drinks.
That's your idea of self.
Okay. And I would like watch videos all day.
You are reading the wrong genre. This is not the genre for you. You're not messy enough to enjoy this genre.
I know, like
no,
but I really think the point of literature is that I should be able to empathize with all kinds of people. You know, even people who are radically different in lifestyle to me. Like there is something in that common humanity that I should be able to relate to.
I guess the better thing is like, when you take everything away, there's something at the core of her existence that's just empty. And she can't fill it. And there's no way... Like, she makes a lot of bad decisions, right? Like, there's so many moments where she could have been nice to, like, River or done anything, like, vaguely healthy. And she just chooses not to. And you see for a moment, like, things might actually change a little bit. Like, around the death of the... When are we going into the spoiler, because I don't even know how we can talk about this.
Actually, okay. Yeah, self-destructiveness. I don't know. What does that look like to you?
It's like killing yourself without dying. That's kind of what the goal is. Like, oh, let me do something that's objectively dumb, just to see if anything changes. That's like,
Yeah, I know.
It's committing to the absurdity.
See, I know, and then I think the point of fiction is, like I would love to learn about why someone is self-destructive, and the fiction doesn't have to give me an easy answer. The fiction can give me a very broad, abstract, and ambitious answer. It can say maybe that this society drives people in a way to be self-destructive, or anyway, like if I can see the rationale behind it, or at least what this author's take on it is, that would make it so much more interesting. I think I will be able to empathize with it.
The suggestion, I think, is actually that there's no, like, it's
that people are just self-destructive.
People are just self-destructive. And I think, like, I'll give you an example, right? Like, there are so many things. If you wanted to kill you, I feel like we shouldn't be. Should I not talk about suicide so much on this?
Well, we did say better help. I don't know, but I do want to talk about this. No, like, I know that in real life, there's often, no reason, right? But then.
So then what would be the difference with a book? Like, is the book then supposed to give you the illusion that there's a reason?
Or like the book should make the point that there is no reason. I don't feel like that point is being made either.
How?
I'm just confused most of the time, honestly.
I think, yeah, like, it's a person.
And then there's this one thing where she goes to Dr. Tuttle, and then she sometimes lies to her and sometimes doesn't.
Yeah, but because that's what real, like, I'm
so confused.
Because do you know anyone who can lie all the time?
I lie.
And then sometimes you can't. Like a regular person. This is the thing. I feel like most books, I think a lot of books give you too much leeway to believe in a fantasy world, even when they're quote unquote real. This is what reality looks like. Reality looks stupid.
My question is then, would you compare it to, say, The Vegetarian? Obviously, not everything in that book is explained.
No, because in The Vegetarian, like, there's it gives clear reasons for why, and it that's the point. The point is that actually it's not that I don't think The Vegetarian is very absurd. Like, it follows a very clear logic. Everything that happens.
Okay.
The other thing as well is, an example I was thinking of is, what are the limiters that force you to live a certain way? Creating a character with, like, as much privilege as possible. That's what it looks like when, like, so if I don't know, if you decide to go, well, maybe I'll kill myself, right? And, like, if you've got a family to provide for, or you're married, or you're, like, whatever, those are things that prevent you from doing these things. This is a character who has nothing holding her back. Her parents are dead. So, like, who gives a shit? She has one friend, and she doesn't even particularly like that friend.
Yeah.
She has a doctor who should stop her, but will never, because this is just someone who, if you left a self-destructive person to their own devices, and the circumstances were such that they had no limitations on what they could do, because she's also pretty, so she gets, like, pretty privilege. She's rich. Her parents are dead. She has no connections to anybody.
Yeah.
What, to me, it answers the question, like, what would happen? What is the humanity at the core of this? Is, like, that's what it looks like. It's ugly, and it's, like, doesn't quite align itself into any neat package. This is someone who's at the top of society, right? Like, they can't really get fucked. They can't get screwed in any way. They have nothing left. And all that keeps them bound is the things they choose to keep around for as long as they do. It's like Reva. It's a bit like, those stories, I don't know if you're, like, into fantasy at all. The stories about, like, men becoming gods, like they cast off their humanity or whatever. That's exactly what this is. It's like someone casting off as much humanity as possible. Okay, well, now that my parents are dead, I lived a life, I came into the art world. Turns out the art world is shit. Okay, well, I fucking hate my job. Why do I even care about my job? You cast off that pretense. You're like, oh, all of these people used to know, you cast them off as well. It's implied. You don't know.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean.
And slowly, she's, like, stripping away her humanity. that's the process of hibernation, right? Like she comes out, and what's that analogy she always uses? Like the cells, like she will be it's that joke of what's it called? The ship, Theseus's ship. You know that
like you change every plank and then it becomes a new ship or whatever.
That's what she hopes, right? By casting off bits of herself.
Yeah, she wants to sleep into a different person or something.
And she tries to let go of everything.
Yeah, I think I see the way this thought experiment is set up. Like exactly what you said. She doesn't have ties to holding her back. Yeah, I think that makes it a little bit clearer. Okay, yeah, let's move on to the spoiler section. This is the spoiler section. The setup, right? The setup is
there's a girl. She wants to sleep for a year by increasing her medication. All the characters in the story are the psychiatrist, the friend she hates, the ex-boyfriend who hates her, and whoever, and then the parents, who she never really. Every time she goes back to the doctor, she tries a different medication by, like you said, like coming with lies, saying that she's got.
She's saying she can't sleep.
She says she has really bad insomnia.
But that's totally a lie. She just wants stronger medication to help her sleep even longer until eventually the doctor prescribes interfitramol.
Yeah.
Or a drug that's called something like that. And that's a really strong drug. And then she would take it and then she would wake up days later and then she would have no memory of what she did. And she would actually do things while she was asleep.
And the things that she would do are like very, because her whole goal is to be as detached as possible. But the things that she does are very human things. Like
that's another thing that confused me. Like she would like buy pretty clothes, get bikini waxed, and then go to parties and have sex. I think when she's knocked out on that drug. So like, okay, how do you interpret that?
It's those are the parts of your humanity that are like you can't let go, right? Like you're like, oh, you still want to have sex. Oh, you still want to like look pretty. You still want those bits of her that she thought she could like get rid of entirely. They resurface, which is why it freaks her out and why she like makes such a concerted effort. That one time that she does something nice and she like sends Reva like a bouquet of flowers or something, or like orders
to her mother's funeral. She buys a bouquet of flowers.
And it's just like, and Reva is like, oh my god, like I can't believe you showed up, blah blah. And it's genuine for for a moment.
And she did that while she was out on the drug.
Yeah.
So
it's like this part of your life you can't let go. But she's like, I'm determined to change things. I'm determined to do something. Just anything that will like change. And so she casts that off. She casts all of it off. And then she comes up with more ridiculous measures. Like she puts a phone in like a Tupperware box and chucks it in the freezer. Like all this shit.
Yeah. I think there's meant to be a parallel, right, between Reva's mother's death and her own mother's death.
Yeah.
Reva seems to react to it in a very regular way, right? She cries a lot at the funeral. She goes back to the hometown, and
for a few moments she's like unpretentious and likable.
Yeah. And the main character's reaction to all of it was just she's also kind of laughing at Reva for like ugly crying, right?
Yeah.
Reva was an idiot, and therefore I could discount her pain, and with it, mine.
Oh,
Reva was like the pills I took.
I was going to talk about that because I love that bit. Because I think you missed the best bit. The best bit is talking about how like, her pain is trite or something. Like, what was it? What's the line?
Yep, I'll find it.
It's such a great, like, it's so great.
Oh, her repression. Oh, seeing Reva in full-blown Reva mode both delighted and disgusted me. Her repression, her transparent denial, her futile attempts to tap into the pain with me in the car, it all satisfied me somehow. Reva scratched an itch that, on my own, I couldn't reach. Watching her take what was deep and real and painful and ruin it by expressing it with such trite precision gave me reason to think Reva was an idiot, and therefore I could discount her pain, and with it, mine.
I love that bit.
Reva was like the pills I took. They turned everything, even hatred, even love, into fluff I could bat away.
I've had that exact feeling before. And maybe it's just because I'm a dick, but like I felt that and I was like, oh, That's what it is. It's like when like you ever talk to somebody and then they like just say a platitude and you're like, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. And then
that would frustrate me.
allows you to chill out because you're like, death is meaningless because look how meaninglessly you like summarized it.
Really? Is that your
Yeah.
reaction to it?
Yeah.
I think I would be like frustrated and infuriated
By what?
by their thing, by whatever it is trite expression that they just said.
Yeah, no.
And
I think
I
it's
would be like offended.
offended by what?
Like, I would be frustrated, I think.
No, but about what?
About how trite they are, about how they are either unwilling or unable to express deeply what they're feeling.
Yeah, but it's like it's all an illusion, right? Like that's the fantasy of being smarter than other people. Like it's not true, but you just like look down. You're like judging other people, and you're like, my pain is deeper than yours. It's like that's not real. Like
No, it's not. But like, isn't that what you said?
yeah, no, like that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. But that's
It is an illusion.
and it's like so obvious that like
it's pathetic.
it is.
It is pathetic.
But these
Like
characters,
she's literally saying that, you know, her futile, she's laughing at her futile attempts, but you know, she's obviously not dealing with it anywhere better than Riva is, right? She's dealing it way worse than Riva is. And there's another thing. There are a few places in the book where she mentions connecting with her emotions. You think like her goal basically is to separate her emotions from her as much as possible, right?
yeah, largely that's what it is.
Yeah, that made sense to me, I think. Hey, you know what? I think you have actually convinced me that maybe I need to read it again.
I don't think you need to read it again, to be honest. Like, I think you can genuinely look back on it because
I can't. No, I think you've given me some guidance, and I think taking that, maybe I can get something out of it
that's very much the Fleabag thing as well, right? You're like, oh, why does she like love her friend, but why does she hate it? It's like that's what people are like with their friends.
No, I think what you said earlier about you know, it being a thought experiment of what someone would do, and also like writing against the illusion that things can make sense, like making the point, like almost like the point that it's making that is that it's not meant to make sense, right? See, with Fleabag and with this book as well, I felt like I'm being chucked a lot of smoke bombs, and I don't know which one is the important one that I should read into. And I'm like, okay, this makes me think one thing, and it goes nowhere, and then here comes another thing and makes me think maybe another thing, and then it goes nowhere, and then I just feel like I'm being chucked a lot of smoke bombs. But like I said, with that, your guidance, maybe I can get something out of it.
You just like throw a bunch of smoke bombs because it's like that's how it feels to live. Like that's how I feel. Like when I'm wandering through the world, I'm like, I don't know why I want this or why I hate this.
See, that's the thing. Hopelessness, the fear of unknown, the pain of emptiness. Those are all wonderful things I would love reading about.
But what is that? How is that different to like this? Because did you not see the pain of emptiness in this?
See, the pain of emptiness, I felt that so clearly in American Psycho and in Less Than Zero. And that's the artistry, right? It's an incredibly difficult thing to write about, the pain of emptiness. But then like for those books, I just felt very clearly that this book is about the pain of emptiness. Whatever reason, this kind of writing is not very effective on me. Look, pain of emptiness, that's like my favorite theme to read about.
But that's too clear. Like
yeah, well, maybe I just like clarity then, maybe.
You definitely like clarity.
Yeah, I like clarity. I think we should talk about how this book is resolved, right?
Oh, yeah.
We can finally go back to the 9/11 thing now. So this is the spoiler section. So Riva dies. It's implied that Riva dies at 9/11 because she got a new job at the World Trade Center.
Yeah, so like this, I think the setup goes that she is having an affair with her boss. She turns out that she's having a baby.
Oh yeah.
And then the baby, the boss doesn't want to deal with it, so the boss like moves her, like transfers her to like the Twin Towers. Basically, after all of this stuff happens, and I think like the protagonist gets like slowly more and more drugged up.
But she eventually emerges.
Yeah.
From
she eventually she hibernates for like 6 months or whatever.
Yeah, 6 months.
And then I think she like reemerges, quote unquote, a different person or whatever, and then like sees 9/11 happen.
And then, yeah, she basically immediately witnesses Riva dying. And she records that moment on TV so that she can watch it over and over again. And even the mysterious things that she gets up to when she was out on the drug.
Yeah.
Like there was one bit where she clearly had sex while she was out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what happened? Like I want to know, like what happened? Like I'm so curious. It's not bad for me to feel curious about.
No. But I think that's the point, though. I think that's what the author wants you to do, is just be like, but hang on, what?
Yeah.
I can't believe she doesn't give a shit.
I'm just like, yeah, I'm just like really confused the whole way.
I don't know. I super enjoyed this book.
And then, there was one bit that I thought was a little bit illuminating. I highlighted it. It goes, I think this is towards it was either before or after the 6 months, where she paid strangers to make her feel good, where she would go to get massages and colon flushes. And then she was saying like she was paying strangers to make her feel good.
Yeah.
And then she says that's basically what Dr. Tuttle is to her.
Yeah. That was really good.
Yeah. See, I like that. I like that because it's illuminating and it made a little bit of sense. Yeah.
You know what I really love as well is like every time Riva talks, and maybe because I'm the same kind of person as the narrator, but like, but also sometimes I'm like, and she's like gets really like mad, like, and she starts accusing like Riva of like being jealous of how like pretty she is or whatever.
Riva is very jealous.
Yeah.
And then she knows it.
And she knows it as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can really resonate with the bit where she always says no fair.
It's basically where the protagonist keeps losing weight, right? And then Riva's like, oh, no fair. And that's, to me, that's satire.
Why?
Because, like, she's kind of making fun of girls like Riva where, she would go to ridiculous lengths to lose weight. And then she would say just incredibly dumb things like your friend is like dying and losing weight. And she's like, oh, no fair that you get to lose so much weight.
I think that's like, I don't see it
I
as
would read that as satire.
I don't see it as satire at all. Like, that's like a genuine emotion. That's like what real people are like. Like, in order to be satire.
Yes, real people are like. Yeah, real people are like that.
Yeah, so what's satirical about it?
Because it's funny, because it's stupid.
No, but it's not like... The more interesting thing to me is like her reaction to Riva.
What was it?
Because her reaction to Riva saying no fair is like, oh, it made me like her better. It's like, it's exactly how I feel about this. I would feel about this.
Why do you feel that?
Oh, you're finally honest about something. Like, you are finally... Like, all of your shit is so trite and so meaningless, but you have directly connected like something and you're not afraid of it. Like, you're not afraid of being envious of how I look.
I'm sure it's not because, wow, you said exactly what I thought you would say.
No. It's like when you see your friend who's trying to always act good just be themselves and be shitty, you're like, okay, I like you so much more now. That's how I feel. Like, you come down and join us in the muck.
Like a brief moment of honesty?
Yeah, because like a lot of the times, I'm a person, maybe it's just me, I really shit on aspirational stuff. Maybe too much. But like, there's a level of aspiration to me that's just delusion.
Aspirational quotes are... do you mean inspirational
Aspiration. Quotes? No. So like, when people like are like, oh... I'm acting this way because I want to be like this. It's like, man, shut the fuck up. You're not like that. And so that's like the feeling when someone who's like, oh, I'm a good person. Like, are you okay? Like, taking care of you, whatever. And you're like, and then as the recipient, you're like, man, shut the fuck up. Like, I know what you really like. And then one day you're like, oh, okay, actually, I'm so jealous. I wish I was a drug addict like you so that I could be skinny. You're like, oh, that's real. Like, I believe you now. And I like you so much more.
Oh my God. Yeah, I like what you said earlier about like the book being the point. As in,
like,
look, I'm against like over reading as well. But I don't like vlogs. I think books should be different to vlogs. Well, what I mean by vlogs is just attaching a camera to the front of your forehead and just recording things as it is. I don't think that makes art.
I totally disagree. I think it makes more on, like, you mean metaphorically, like not literally?
No,
Because
like
I also hate vlogs, but I meant like, like I hate actual vlogs.
no, I think even the act of making art, of like collecting experience and putting it together, there is unavoidably a layer of intentionality to
Yeah,
it.
and the intentionality is to create an image or a feeling
Mm.
or a sensation
That represents real life.
that
Yeah,
represents. Yeah,
no, I respect that. And then real life is so multifaceted. There's inevitably gonna be parts that you just can't grab, right? You're gonna have to let some things go because
yeah,
it's impossible. Because with a vlog, I guess what a vlog is just, yeah, you just stick a camera to the front of your forehead and then say, "Oh, this is my day," and like what it is,
yeah.
and like a really flat, all-encompassing portrait. Although I do think that really multi-layered representation, like how close art can be to real life, right? Like I do think art can endlessly approach real life and try to really represent all the layers of real life. But see, like I'm still looking for that intentionality, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, would you describe this book as unintentional?
I can't figure out what the intention is,
But
or even
but
like
would you?
remotely what the intention
But do
is.
you think that this book is intentional? Like, do you feel like this book is intentional?
Um, yes.
So
Yes.
you're just frustrated because you can't figure out what the intention
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah, it's giving me like mixed messages. And look, I know that like some books I read very complexly. You know, I can read like endless amounts of things when it's like a very narrow passage. Once I am connected with the book, I can widen that passage to read almost anything out of a book. But I feel like with this one, it's just I'm working
I-
through like a smoke screen.
I think you need to live like a really messy life for like
You know, I
a
think
couple of months and then just see what it's like.
I completely agree. You know, like
That'll be great.
as much as I like to think of myself as a good reader, that like my imagination can go places where I've never been, but like I think there is a limitation in me that it's just I just have not lived this kind of life. But that doesn't mean I've lived like American Psycho either.
I think you have more in common with the character, because I know what you mean, and I think that you have more in common with that character.
Okay, so comparing this book to Big Swiss,
I haven't read that, by the way.
I know you haven't, but just for listeners who might, I think Big Swiss confused me even more.
What's Big Swiss actually about?
Big Swiss is about, like I said in the first episode, the premise of Big Swiss was super interesting. It's a woman transcribing for a sex therapist. So a sex therapist records his sessions with his clients, and then her job is to type out the sessions, and then she never knows the clients' real names to protect privacy. She only knows their initials. So as she transcribes the sessions, she's drawn to this female client and to her experiences, right? And then her whole thing is that the reason she visits a sex therapist is because she has never had an orgasm in her entire life.
Oh yeah.
And then so the story is about the love story between these two women. So the transcriber, Greta, knows that the client is from Switzerland, so she gave her nickname, right? Big Swiss, yeah. And then so they ended up beginning an affair. The Big Swiss is already married. They have a lot of sex, and then in the end, Greta. Oh, no, I shouldn't spoil it. But that was the premise. And in my review of it in the first episode, I kind of said, I think the book chucked a huge question at me without giving me an answer. And the huge question was, in the beginning of the book, Big Swiss makes an argument that she doesn't like trauma people. She doesn't like how people use trauma to justify shitty behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting the book to be kind of a response, or at least a discussion on that topic. But I kind of didn't see that happening in the book. So I was left with the same feeling with this one, really, like frustrated and like confused. I'm trying to think if My Year of Rest and Relaxation has it didn't give me quite the same feeling of like a failed promise, but I
It's
think
because
yeah.
it promises nothing.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
begin
exactly.
With, right?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Big Swiss, I feel like there was a very, to me, there was a clear intention of here's a question, and I was expecting a discussion. Whereas I felt like I didn't get it. With this one, it's just about a woman going to sleep, and honestly, I find that fascinating. I love the premise.
I think the book. I think to me the book like over delivered on its promise. I think it's much more interesting than the premise. Like the
Really?
actual, yeah, because like I also love. To be fair though, it has a lot of things that stylistically. I guess we can get into that bit. Stylistically, has heaps of things that I enjoy, and maybe that's like part of the reason as well.
Stylistically, I think I enjoyed it too. Like,
There are
I
so
enjoyed the
many.
writing. That's why I
Yeah.
was managed to read it,
I really-
even despite all the confusion.
I really enjoy the like. First of all, I love Dr. Tuttle. That character is so funny.
Yeah, I think she was kind of funny. Yeah,
And like I love the way she talks about it. It like reminds me of I don't know if anybody watches stand up, but like John Mulaney, like
oh yeah,
he's like famously
isn't he the guy with the really funny voice?
Yeah, that's
yeah.
how it sounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got like he has this bit in his like the newest special he's done, I think, where he like talks about how the whole thing is about his like drug addiction. And in the story, he tells a story about like a doctor that he went to who worked out of.
This.
He was exactly like this, like Dr. Michael. Like he never knew his last name. Like he worked out of an apartment, and he would always be like, "My wife's asleep." Whenever like he came in, and it was just the sketchiest person ever.
Yeah.
And I love this like character.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think with all the supporting characters,
I love them all.
Dr. Yeah, Dr. Tuttle is just like crazy doctor. What was it? She was wearing like some sort of collar.
Yeah. She's like wearing a collar all the time, and she gets progressively more crazy throughout the book.
Yeah,
like she starts out kind of normal, like insane in the way that it's like, oh, like it's an injury that I never got. Like
yeah. See, I like that. That made a lot of sense to me.
A lot of the characters have heaps of idiosyncrasies, right?
What's the idiosyncrasy?
Like just weird little things. There are like lots of things about them that are very weird and specific.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yes, and I like that, and I can see the point of that. But what I don't get is why sometimes the main character lies to Dr. Tuttle and why sometimes she doesn't. But you've explained that it's like she's trying to let go of her humanity, and sometimes it
creeps back in.
Yeah. Okay, maybe it's that.
And it's like it's the same way that like you have like because a lot of the times when she's like, oh, I was too tired to. A lot of it is like I'm too tired to lie. I couldn't lie. There was no point lying.
And then the next
she
sentence
forgets anyway.
And the next sentence she would lie. Like one sentence like I'm too tired to lie, and then the next sentence like she would lie.
Yeah, because
so
because it's also an unreliable narrator, right? Like she's lying to you as well.
See, even unreliable narrators, I love them when they're done well. Going back, I think going back to her parents' death, I think that's the part that did make the most sense to me.
I think it was. I honestly feel like it's a bit of a misdirect.
I know what you mean, because this story isn't all about grief. I can get that that's not what it's trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's two arguments to be made, right? You could probably also make the argument that like unresolved grief is the reason that all of this happens. Like you can make that argument.
Yeah, but I don't think that's complete.
But I think that's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think that's complete.
It's not how it feels. Like
no. I think the book is up to something more than that.
Yeah, and you're just trying to figure out.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what.
It was definitely a worthwhile read. I feel like even if you didn't like it, it was like worth reading. Well, maybe not for you because you'd already read The Big Swiss, right?
Yeah, no. You know what made this book worth reading? Our discussion today.
Really?
Yeah, this discussion has made this book worth reading. Because otherwise, I would have just walked away being really confused and not getting much out of it. Oh, there's one other quote I think that we can discuss before we wrap up is after Riva stole all of her stuff, all of her pills, she went to leave like an angry voice message or something, and she says this one line that I felt was kind of illuminating, that is, you know that killing someone you love is the ultimate self-destructive act.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
What does that mean? Who's killing? What does that mean? Like, do you mean Riva's trying to kill her, or she's trying to kill Riva?
Wait, what?
Like, why is she saying that? What does that mean? This is where, like I said, Riva stole all of her pills and she's
Yeah.
very pissed. And she's calling Riva. And she's saying, oh, you'd feel pretty sorry if I died. Page 242. You'd feel pretty sorry if I died because of you. You know that killing someone you love is the ultimate self-destructive act. Grow up, Riva. Is this a cry for help? It's pretty fucking pathetic if it is.
It's like when you're drug addicted, like when your alcoholic uncle is like yelling at you for like hiding all the booze in the house. That's what that is. And he's like,
okay,
you know, this is the only good thing I have in my life. Like, why would you take it away from me? But like, it's just bullshit. Like, it's a drug addict, like yelling at the person helping them. Like,
okay, but then she's kind of accusing Riva for being self-destructive.
So the whole thing,
because she's unable to say that to herself.
Yeah,
she's using Riva as a proxy.
Because that's the whole thing. I think she admits like multiple times that Riva's her proxy, right? Like it's a lot of projection and like blaming other people and
projection. Yeah.
There's heaps of that, and she's doing it the whole time, right?
Am I like? I just want to see Riva write a book about her.
Ask Jeremy to write a book about me.
I would pay so much money to read that. Oh my god! Do you want me to write a book about you?
You can. I don't think anyone would read it. Maybe.
I can write it really well, I think.
Really?
Yes.
That would be great. We should write books about each other, and then like.
Hey, it goes back to that thing. You're like, none of us is as interesting or as deep as you think we are. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, no. Because if I wrote about me, it would be so uninteresting. If you wrote about you, I think it would also be uninteresting. If you wrote about me and I wrote about you, that'd be pretty good.
Oh. Will be released as exclusive content on Buy Me a Coffee.
It's like, I'm Feng Ling. I don't hate my friends.
Yeah, I love my friends.
I love my friends as well, but I also hate my friends. That's real. That's what real friendship is like.
You should go to therapy.
BetterHelp, please sponsor. We really need it.
Yeah.
Or at least pay for our therapy.
Yeah, we
please.
need it so much.
I low-key fell in love with this character.
You need help, Derek. You need help. Did you just say you fell in love with yourself?
No, I fell in love with with this
Riva.
No, the main character.
You just said she's like you, so you fell in love with yourself. Well, that's normal. I accept that. I respect that. Who wouldn't love themselves, right?
Yeah, but you also hate yourself, right? Like that's how you.
That's the thing. I'm a complex human being. I love myself and hate myself at the same time.
There you go.
No, she just hates herself.
Yeah, she really does. I can just see how this would happen if I didn't have friends. Like, this is something that could happen to me. I was depressed for ages, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
I've like definitely wanted to go to sleep and then like never wake up. Or like, not like die, but like just like go to sleep, like eagerly awaiting sleep to be not here.
Yeah, you see, I felt
All the
that.
time.
I felt that many times in my life as well. Maybe this is me trying to prescribe meaning out of my own suffering or whatever. It's like an old writer trope. But then I would be like, oh, that is because at that period, I just felt so afraid all the time. Anytime that I would have consciousness, I would be afraid. And then that's why I wanted to just go to sleep and not wake up. But then at other periods, I'll be like, okay, that is because like at that point, I felt really meaningless. I felt empty. And then that's why I would want to go to sleep. So like you see how even in analyzing my own life, I'm trying to provide a rationale.
I'm actually planning on giving like her books another read. I'm thinking about picking up Lap Nova or something, which is supposed to be
Eileen,
set.
I think.
Yeah, that's the famous one. No, I want to read because this is all of her books on first person perspective. Lap Nova, I think the latest one is the only one that's in third person.
Oh, okay. Right.
I think it's really interesting when people switch from their usual like, I realize what I liked about it as well is its repetition. It feels like you're walking down a descending staircase, and it's like each next level is another circle.
Yes,
and every circle is like go to the bodega, go from bodega, ask for money from Egyptian guys.
Watch movie.
Yeah.
Go to sleep.
Like watch movie,
Riva
go to
visits.
sleep, Riva visits.
Yeah.
And like the more you get sucked into that spiral, the faster it accelerates.
Hey, I like that. Yeah, I
was-
saw that happening in the book.
It was
as well.
really,
I really
I'm impressed by the structure of it. So like technically speaking as well, I guess, which we haven't covered, but now we're way over time.
Actually, we're not that much overtime.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But
yeah. I think craft wise, it's good.
It's really enjoyable. Like, and there's heaps of dream sequences and like dream sequences that aren't really dream
Derek's
sequences.
favorite.
Yes. And there's like dream sequences where she's just lying about her dreams. Do you remember that bit? There's a bit where she goes to Dr. Tuttle and she's like,
oh yeah,
she's like trying to make her dreams more f***ed up. So enjoyable.
Oh my God.
I think structurally it's a really good story because structurally, like, it's the protagonist has a really clear objective. The objective is get as many medications as possible, find the right medications so you can go to sleep.
Yeah, that is a very clear objective.
And
but that's not the real objective,
and
is
the
it?
protagonist no, I think it is. Because the protagonist gets obsessed. The protagonist is clearly a capable person because they execute on that like perfectly. They're like, anything I need to do to get like the drugs, I will do. Anything that I need to do to get like, what's his name? Ping? Like the fucking...
Yeah, Ping Si, the Chinese artist.
And like how phony he is and stuff. I love that.
That bit I kind of got as well because that's like the critique of the art world, right? That made sense. And I think, honestly, I think the way it ended of her hibernation being like an art project for this ridiculous, nonsensical artist, that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's just,
And it fits in well with the beginning, kind of.
it's just interesting to be like, oh, what's meaningful, what's not, right? Like, it's a stupid art. It's so dumb.
It is, yeah. And all of his art is meant to be stupid.
And then
Or she thinks it's stupid.
yeah, and it's just, what happened? Like, was there this great change, or like,
Yeah, was there a great change? Do you think she changed at the end?
no?
Then what does Riva's death mean?
I think.
Then
The
why did she
world-
watch it over and over again?
I think the world changed because that's the last bit of her that like was stuck to her, right?
Mm.
Gone now. She's someone else. Riva's gone. She's someone else. Like, she's fully someone else.
Who is this new person?
Well, you don't know. And it doesn't matter because in reality, that's her delusion, right? Like, how much has she really changed? Is she going to stop going to the bodega?
No.
Like, what happens weeks later? Like, does she
Yeah,
move?
yeah.
She moves, right?
I don't remember.
I can't remember exactly how it goes.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how much she changes.
Oh, she touches that painting, right? She doesn't change because she goes into the Met.
Mm.
At the end, she goes into the Met
Mm.
and like, for some reason, she gets really close to the, like, a piece of art and she gets really close to the painting. The guy's like, step away.
Oh yeah.
And then
Sorry, I
she-
got dizzy.
And then she makes this huge, like, she's like, this is going to change everything. So she touched it just to prove that she could or something.
Yeah.
And then in theory, she's like, oh, like, I'm free, right?
Yeah, I think I might have to come back to it again in the future to make sense of it.
I mean, like the very last, I think the ending, the very ending of it is like, there's something beautiful about being awake, right? Like,
Yeah, like
there's the contrast between sleep, death, awake, lie. Like people normally associate awakeness with life and sleep with death, but in this case, it's the reverse, right? Like, Riva is most awake as she's plummeting to her death.
most awake and a human being wide awake diving into the unknown. Or do you think she's awake as she dies, or is she awake as she dives into the unknown? Because
Diving into the unknown, like Riva's falling from fucking building. What do you mean?
I don't know what I mean.
I guess neither of us know.
No, I think this discussion has really helped me a lot.
But it is definitely, to me, that post 9/11 thing. It felt exactly like that other book.
Yeah, you need to figure out the title and tell me.
Yeah. It's just a whole. It's about meaningless stories in the context of something that takes away meaning, which is like death, life.
That's really smart. Say it again.
What? I don't know.
It's about what meaningless stories in the context of something that takes away meaning.
Yeah. Like in the context of an event that's so big it takes away meaning. The same, like it's you know that like that phenomenon that people or like English teachers especially always talk about. They're like, oh, after the bomb, after the war, after whatever.
Yeah.
Like after X event, the paradigm of the world shifts
Changes,
into something
yeah.
new. And that's what that is. It's like, this is the end. The towers have fallen. The late stage capitalism machine that she's stuck under is like evaporated. The illusion of American excellence. I think there's like that element of it.
Okay.
That it feels like it's a holdover from what it was supposed to be.
Oh, okay. From like her original idea.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I need to read that Wikipedia page.
It's interesting. I was like, oh, shit. Now I want to reread that book. I'm going to find it.
Yeah, do. I
Alone
think
at the
send it
End
to
of
me
the
as well.
World, or, I don't know.
Yeah, see how I interpret it. Okay, I think we should wrap up this episode.
Mhm.
We have been going over time, but okay, I think this was a very successful book club.
Yeah, I hope that people will be able to follow. I think I didn't do a good job this time. I was like, oh.
What? No, I think people can follow. It was definitely very helpful to me. Stay tuned to Instagram at Licensed Poetics to figure out what our next pick for book club will be.
Yeah, and then you guys can read along and we can like have an actual book club.
Yeah, a real book club, interactive book club. But anyway, have you read this book? And if you haven't, after hearing our discussion, do you plan on reading it?
I think the answer might be no.
There are many people like you out there, Derek, you know?
That's true. I'm not special.
No one is special. That's the thing. Let's sign off. Thanks again for listening to this episode of Licensed Poetics. I'm your host, Fan Ling. We'll see you in our next episode.
All right. See you next time, I guess.
Bye. You can keep in as much of the laughter as you want. Yeah, you can keep that fake ass laughter in. Sure.